Right, hello there. So this is my RoboNerd submission. So of course RoboNerd got cancelled early this year, which was a bit of a shame really. So instead we're doing this online streaming type thing. I'm not really too familiar about what it is, but kind of figured that I wanted to get involved with this. So I was kind of thinking of ideas of what to do. So I've kind of come up with this idea that I kind of do some kind of video essay type analysis thing on a battle from Robot Wars, but I'm not just going to be talking about why I like it and why everybody else likes it. I'm just going to kind of look at the battle, kind of like go into detail on the battle, and I think I can pretty much do it with the fight that I'm going to be talking about because I've watched the fight like many times that I've pretty much just memorized it, so I know exactly what happens. So yeah, so we'll just see how this goes. And I'm also repping the shirt for the occasion. Sorry if it appears mirrored to me. I don't know if it's going to appear on the video, but we'll just see what happens. And this is also going up on the RoboNerd YouTube channel with a few other submissions that a lot of other sort of well-known people in the community have done. I'm not really well known in the community, but I just figured, might as well give it a go, try it out, and we'll just see how this goes. So yeah. So the battle that we're going to be talking about is a very famous one from the first series of Robot Wars Extreme, and it's my personal favourite fight in the history of the show. It's that Mayhem fight, and I think you know what I'm talking about. It's the one with Thermidor, Stinger, and Behemoth. Now, well, the Robot Wars fans know exactly what happens in that fight, but it's kind of just same old, just saying why it's classic, why people like it. So I'm just going to kind of go into the battle sort of into detail and kind of analyze each individual bit and sort of explain a bit more why it's kind of liked in a way, not just because of what happens. I hope this is coming across right, but yeah. So Thermo 2, Stinger, and Behemoth. So this battle took place on the 5th episode of Robot Wars Extreme, so sort of early into the sort of new era of Robot Wars, where it sort of started to focus more on the fighting aspect. So just coming off the back of Series 4. And yeah, so to kind of understand why this fight is kind of a big deal, we're going to look at the three competitors first and sort of analyse why it comes across as good as it does. So we'll start off with Behemoth. So of course Behemoth was a veteran. They made the semi-finals in Series 2, made the Heat final in Series 3 and 4, and at the start of the Extreme Series they were the Challenge Belt holders, and around that time, I think in that episode they were still holding the belt, yeah, because the episode after they lost it to Tornado. So yeah, and Behemoth was obviously a big deal. It was strong, big, it was claimed by Jonathan Pierce to be very difficult to beat, but I don't really think that was the case. But nonetheless, Behemoth was still a strong contender. So there's Behemoth. And then Stinger, they got eliminated in the first round of Series 3, but they came back with an incredible campaign in Series 4. They finished third out of the whole tournament. They ended up knocking out Panic Attack in the semi-finals, which was quite a controversial decision, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, they defeated Panic Attack. They'd actually surprisingly won the Heat over Bigger Brother, and Stinger was seeded 30th. They were originally 31st seeds until Trident and Blade's Big Brother pulled out, so I'm going to have to keep drinking this water. So yeah, they'd got the way to the semi-finals, and then all the way to the grand final where they finished third, ultimately third. They probably would have ended up finishing fourth if they'd have fought Hypnodist, but what can you do? But good for Stinger. So they pretty much just, became one of the best robots in that series. They've taken everything by surprise. And also, Behemoth and Stinger had actually fought earlier on in Extreme in the Challenge Belt, and Behemoth came out on top. And they did a really cool sort of clamping motion where they sort of got a hold of Stinger with the scoop and the axe and sort of dumped it into the pit. So, based on the interaction between those two, we can kind of see that, Behemoth's probably going to come across as going to win this fight, going to go to the Annihilator. Therminal 2, meanwhile, they went out in the second round of Series 3. They made the semi-finals in Series 4, but they were kind of the underdog in their heat. They weren't seeded, but they ultimately came through and went through to the semis. So, yeah. So while Thermador was a semi-finalist, they weren't really up there, you know? They weren't really there with the stars. So, yeah, you can see right away that, you know, Thermador's the third wheel in this fight against Behemoth and Stinger. I mean, Thermador's just going to be there a bit beaten up, really, but, don't count. I was going to make it doesn't matter. But yeah, that isn't what happened in the fight. So, the fight begins, of course, and you can see sort of Thermador sort of backs out of the way a little bit while Stinger and Behemoth go at it, and you know, these two have already fought each other before, so they kind of know what they're dealing with. Behemoth just kind of, you know, they're like, we know what to do with them. So they kind of move away from Stinger and sort of trundle away. But then, Thermador 2 sort of catches them from underneath and tosses them over. And Behemoth rolls away, and it's a bit, Thermador's kind of caught him off guard a bit there. So Behemoth rolls all the way over, and Thermador 2 backs off. So Behemoth's like, what do I do now? So he goes after Stinger again, flips it off balance, and you know he's figured, Stinger's beaten him before. I'll take care of him first, and we'll maybe deal with Thermador later. So Thermador's kind of out of the way at the moment while Behemoth and Stinger do the thing, and then Stinger tries to spin around. Behemoth just moves straight past it because it's too big, and moves straight past it, and they kind of sort of go a bit slow, and that's when Thermador 2 kind of spots the opening. You see them. They kind of trundle up, they sneak up behind Behemoth, and they kind of get underneath, and they fling them into this incredible front somersault where Behemoth just tumbles through the air, and he goes out of the arena. And it's just completely caught off guard because the fight was just kind of plodding along a little bit. They were just kind of moving around, and then Thermador just comes in with this massive flip, and the fact that Behemoth wasn't even close to the wall, like the wall was maybe about here, and Behemoth was, I don't know, a meter away, and then the flip, and it just carried them straight over, and that's an incredible flip. That's absolutely insane. Like how did they do that? Like, Behemoth's gone. Like the favorite for the fight is the first one to go out. That you can kind of see why it's kind of like shocking, because it was unexpected. And it was an amazing flip. I think it's the best out of the arena flip ever. Sorry, Wheeler with Cheese Axel, but Thermador 2 on Behemoth, that was insane. That was incredible. So, Behemoth's gone at this point, so Stinger and Thermador are left. They don't really know what to do with each other. They're sort of sizing each other up a little bit, and Stinger goes for him, and Thermador just kind of flings it away because, we know that Stinger, you can't really do anything with it. It's extremely difficult to get a hold of. So, keep drinking the water. So, yeah. So Stinger and Thermador are just kind of going at it. Thermador flips Stinger again. And, they don't really know what to do with each other because they're like, Behemoth's gone, so what can we really do with each other? So they kind of just sort of move around each other a little bit, sort of towards the side of the arena wall where Behemoth's actually been thrown out. And for maybe the next 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so, they just kind of sort of move around a little bit. They just don't know what to do. And then the pit's been opened as well at this point, and so that's like, maybe they could go in the pit or something. Maybe Stinger could go in the pit, Thermador could go in the pit. Who knows what could happen? Or it could go to a judge's decision, because how can these two, deal with each other? And there's this kind of cool top view, sort of, where they're sort of like moving around in the CPZ. There's like a top view, and you can sort of see outside in the darkness. You can see Behemoth sitting there, and it's like, there's Behemoth, and you can see how Thermador actually threw them out. So, what happens next? They sort of move around a bit more. Thermador backs off, sort of goes into the CPZ. They rush towards Stinger, and Stinger's just lingering around, and then Thermador gets underneath them, and they managed to catch hold of Stinger. Like, how did they manage to do that? They've got all the Stinger, and they flip it, and then, because it's right by the camera, so I think Stinger actually bumps into the camera, so we see another top-down view. We see Stinger go up, and we see it sort of go on the wall, and because the wheel goes over, and the weight's just going to take it, and then you just see Stinger topple out of the arena, and it's just like, unbelievable. Thermador 2 just got both of them out. That's insane. And they got Stinger out. Like, Stinger is like known for being just so hard to get hold of. I mean, when Chaos 2 fought him in Series 4, not even they were able to do that. And Thermidor just got him out. And you know, to top it all off, I think the best part is that Thermidor got them both out on the same side as well. They were both out on the same side, and as Stinger goes out, you can still see Behemoth, and it's just like Thermidor's, you know, done that. And there's like this really cool thing at the end where Thermidor sort of backs off, and he sort of turns towards the camera. So it's sort of like saying like, "Yeah, I got that done." And you know, at this point out, the arenas were so rare, and you know, like, and the fact that two went out in the same fight, that's incredible. Like, that is just insane. So, yeah. I mean, hopefully I've kind of come across, like, you know, why it sort of works. I think it's because of the sort of unexpectedness of it, the fact that Behemoth was the first one to get taken out, you know, they were the favourites, and the wicked way they just went out, they just flipped straight over the wall. Like, that's incredible. Like, and even Jonathan Pierce was just, you know, he couldn't believe it. He was like, Behemoth's out! Behemoth's gone! Like, that's just, you know, and the fact that Stinger went as well. Stinger that, you know, because it sort of made a name for himself, saying like, oh yeah, you can't really get a hold of us. So it's like, oh, there's no way anybody can get Stinger out, but Thermidor did. And that's just an amazing accomplishment. And Thermidor went through to the Annihilator, and nobody gave it a chance. Well, I don't think, because Thermidor at that point wasn't really an all-star. Stinger and Behemoth already were. Thermidor just got rid of them, just dispatched them just so easily. And I believe that's why that fight, you know, is considered a classic. Not just because of the two-time out of the arena, but because of the fact that Thermidor 2 took out two All-Stars in that fight. And it's just the fact that both the flips were just really good. The Behemoth flipping over the wall, and the fact that Stinger even went out was just, you know, great. I mean, even Craig Charles said at the end of the fight, you know, I didn't give you a chance. I thought you'd just be cannon fodder. And Thermidor won it. So yeah, that's kind of why that fight works, and you know, why people like it so much. Thermidor went through to the Annihilator, and, well, the less said about that performance, the better. So, yeah, that's pretty much my submission for RoboNerd. Hopefully it's kind of come across pretty good. Sort of went into a bit of an analysis there, I think, kind of. It's my first attempt at doing something like this, so hopefully it's, you know, hopefully people like it, and, you know, maybe I'll end up starting a YouTube channel, doing stuff like this, maybe talking about certain robots campaigns and everything in between. But yeah, for now, this is just something I wanted to submit, you know, just to, you know, be a part of RoboNerd, because it is a real shame that, you know, it's not going to be happening this year because of, you know, COVID. But yeah, hopefully there'll be some really good stuff on the YouTube channel. I know there's quite a few things have been submitted, so subscribe to the RoboNerd channel. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably already have. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, and that's pretty much all I wanted to submit, and hopefully you liked it. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. So here's to RoboNerd. It's going to be streaming August the 15th. On YouTube, there's going to be some pre-recorded stuff. There's going to be some live stuff. So yeah, check that out. And yeah, here's to a great RoboNerd TV. See you later, guys.